Hey, okay, we're starting Sotah Mem. Hey, hold on 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Okay, let us get to today's Daf Yomi. We are on the top of Memhei Amid Aleph. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon, who says you need 3 people to go out to be the Bezdin for a case of an Egla Rufa, if you find a dead body. And Rabbi Yehuda says you need 5, but it also says in that pasuk, El Meyata V'Yatzu, it says the elders should go out. V'yatu zekinecha v'shoftecha umadadu, and they should measure. So why don't you say v'yatu means 2 more judges, umadadu shnayim, and madadu, and the measure is also 2 more judges. That's a total of. Rabbi Shimon Arekan Shiva. According to Rabbi Shimon, you now have 7 judges, and Rabbi Yehuda Arekan Tisha, and Rabbi Shimon Arekan Shiva. Rabbi Yehuda would say then 9, and Rabbi Shimon would say 7. Gemara says no, we don't. We can't use it for that. We need it for the following price of the Yatsu. It goes out, they go out. They are not their agents. Madadu, and they measure. Even if it's found very clear and obviously close to one city, we're going to say how you moded in. They still need to measure. It's a mitzvah to actually measure it. Masnisin to look Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. And our Mishnah is not like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. And our Mishnah that just says that the court goes out, but it doesn't mention that the king and the Kohen Gadol go out. That's not like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. The Tanya Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov taught. Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov says, Zikeinecha, when it says your elders go out, Zu Sanhedrin. That's the Sanhedrin. Shoftecha, when your court goes out, Zem Melech v'Kohen Gadol. This is the king and the high priest. Melech Techsev. The king goes out because it says Melech b'mishpat Yamid. Melech b'mishpat Yamid Aretz. That the king will go out, and we see that he is b'mishpat, through justice he keeps the earth strong. And Kohen Gadol v'chsevu vatel kohanim v'alabim ve'el hashofet asher yeh b'yam nimahim. So Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov says not only does the court go out, also the king and the high priest. So he's not like our Mishnah. So the Gemara asks the question: Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov b'melech v'Kohen Gadol hu depaleg. Does Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov argue only in the case of the king and the high priest? But when it comes to the Sanhedrin, he says he's Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. He says that you need only. Either like Rabbi Yehuda, you need 5, or like Rabbi Shimon, you need 3, and you don't require the whole Sanhedrin. Or maybe he also argues with respect to the Sanhedrin. Adika Kula Sanhedrin, he requires the entire Sanhedrin. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yosef, let's answer this question. Tashma, it says, and we learned this Gemara already in Sanhedrin. It says, Zakein Mamre, that let's say there is a rebellious elder, and Matzan Zakim Mamri, if the court finds a rebellious elder, but they found them, where do they find them? A Bei Pagi. They went out to the Bei Pagi. A Bei Pagi is a place that's part of the new territory of Jerusalem. I mean, Jerusalem was expanded. In the Bei Pagi, Rashi says it was within the outer walls of Jerusalem. So this is a term referring to the outer walls of Jerusalem, the Himra land, and so they went out there, and he rebelled against them. They taught him the halacha out there, and he rebelled against them. I might think that his rebellion is considered a rebellion. You go up to the place, and that's where you become a rebellious elder. The place of the rebellious elder can only happen in the Lishkas Hagazis, in the where the high court meets on the Temple Mount. So the Gemara says, the Nafakama, how many of them went out? to declare him a rebellious elder. If you want to say that just a portion of them went out, Dilma, that can't work. Maybe the people who remain back wouldn't be in agreement with the rebellious elder, and even though they'd be a minority, their position would have had to be heard. Must be that the entire Sanhedrin went out to the Beit Pagi, and there they taught this person, and the laws of rebellious elder don't apply. So they all went out to meet him. So what's the scenario? Why did they all go out? If they went out for just some discretionary purpose, if they just went out for some discretionary purpose, it can't be. They're not allowed to do that. Could they go out v'aktiv? But it states in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Shararech Agan Hasehar Al Yachasar Hamazeg, meaning your navel is like a basin. Let the blend be lacking. And so, what does that pasuk mean? Meaning to say, the Chachamim say we learned that about the Sanhedrin, which was in the navel of Eretz Yisrael, and let not the blend be lacking. Meaning to say that the Sanhedrin can never be lacking the proper amount of wine to mix it. That if one of them needs to leave, you need to have a minimum of 23 people remaining there. Otherwise, they can't go out. And so if that's the case, how is it possible that all the Sanhedrin went out together for some discretionary purpose? There needs to be at least 23 that remain. So they went out for a purpose of a mitzvah. Why did they go out? They must have gone out to measure the Eglah Rufa. So we see from here, and this is the Bryce is following the position of Rabbi Elazar and Yaakov, who says the whole Sanhedrin needs to go out for the Eglah Rufa. Bryce says that's not a proof. There's other reasons why the Sanhedrin would have to go out to battle. One is if they wanted to add on to the city of Jerusalem, or if they wanted to add on to the courtyards. What does that mean to add on to the courtyards? Meaning to say, it's this expression is lav dafka. The comment the Ran says it means whenever you say to add on to the city, they also put on the Azaros, but you don't go out to the Beit Pagi to determine whether or not to add on to Jerusalem. Like we learned, you only add on to the city or to the courtyards of the temple once you have the court of 71. And indeed, we have a brisa like Rav Yosef. Tanya, we have a brisa that supports Rav Yosef. What was Rav Yosef saying? And according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, that you would need to, the entire Sanhedrin would need to go out in order for the Eglah Rufa. What's the brisa? Mitzvah base pagi v'ahimralan. If the court finds this rebellious elder in the base pagi and he rebels about them, and why would they find him? Let's say they went out for the Eglah Rufa or to measure on the city. Anyway, but from this source we see that the whole Sanhedrin needs to go out in order to measure the area for the Eglah Rufa, and it must be like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. So Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov argues with Rabbanan also on that. It says, Nimtza Tamlon be'gal otawai be'ilan, if you find the rebellious elder hanging from if you find them suspended in a pile of stones or hanging from a tree, then the laws of Eglah Rufa don't apply. So Gemara says, Lema, let's say that our Mishnah is, let's say that our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehudai, that our Mishnah which says that it only applies, let's say that our Mishnah that says Ba'adama to say that if he was hidden in the ground doesn't apply, maybe it's like Rabbi Yehuda, not the Rabbanan, because we learned in the Brisa, the Tanya, what it says about the law of Leket Shilor and Peah, the Shachachta Omer Basadeh. If you find the Omer in the field, Prat Litamun. This comes to exclude a case of somebody who was hidden in the ground. Meaning to say that whatever's not revealed is not including the idea that you have to return it to him, that you're not allowed to, that the laws of leket apply to it. So, meaning to say, the laws of leket shulchan pei, meaning if you forget something, you're not allowed to go back and take it. But if it was hidden in the ground, then you are allowed. The other laws don't apply. That's the position of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that hidden in the ground is exempt, like over here. V'chamim omram ba'asodeh says in the field, l'rabba says atamun comes to include that which is hidden. So you see from here that the Rabbanan argue with Rabbi Yehuda by leket shulchan pei. Let's say they argue with him over here as well. The Gemara says, no, Amarav, Afilu Teim Rabbanan. It's possible the Rabbanan here would also say that if you sit in the ground, the laws of Eglah Rufa don't apply to him. It's the context. When you find this dead body, where do you find him? Where is the dead body found? He's found in the earth. This comes to exclude if he's found hidden in the earth. And so therefore the Rabbanan here would also say Eglah Rufa doesn't apply. But also there it's also from the context, because it says Ki siksur katsircha basadeh, if you harvest your crops, b'shachachta omer, and you forgot the omer, shechad dumya dekatzir, forgetting similar to harvesting, makatzir begaloi, af shecha begaloi. You might think it has to be available and ready and visible, kasav rachmana, basadeh, in the field. The Rabba says ataman. The Rabbanan say that comes to include also the hidden. Or Rabbi Yehuda nami tepeklei mishekha. So why doesn't Rabbi Yehuda dumya dekatzir? Why doesn't Rabbi Yehuda say that as well? Mer says inachinami. So if that's the case, Rabbi Yehuda would say it. El basadeh lamei. So what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Hold on. So Rabbi Yehuda would seem to say that. So why does Rabbi Yehuda say from the word basad? He says it comes to include that if you forget to harvest one corner of the field, that's also included in the prohibition of lo tashul l'kachto. So it's that. So therefore, whether it's shichas omer or forgetting in the field, both of them you don't go back to get it. Rabbanan shichas kama minnahu. How do the Rabbanan know this law that also if you forget to harvest a corner of the field, you're not allowed to go back and take it? They learn that from that pasuk. From the word bisadecha, they learn that. Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do with the word bisadecha? Look at Rabbi Abba. It comes to include a case where the wind lifted up your piles and put them in your friend's field. And as a result of that, he thought that his friend forgot them. Therefore, the Torah says that that's not called forgetting. They just were moved by the wind and you didn't realize it. It could have said sadcha, instead it says bisadecha. That's what they learn now. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't derive anything from that teaching. By Rabbi Yirmiyah, let's say the wind brought your friends' bundles into your field, and they're not placed down on the field, but they're placed on rocks. What will be the law? Avir sadeh kisadeh, meaning to say, I said that wrong. Let's say the wind took your sheaves and placed them on a stone or on a pillar. So therefore, they're not on the ground in your field, but they're still in your field. Do we say Avir Sadeh Kesada Dami? They're still in his airspace, so we should have not forgotten them. Or maybe it's not in his field, so he gets an excuse. Or Papi or Razvid. Tiv Sholemi de Rabbi Avo Amar Belazar Damar Prat Shetzafu Amar Latoch Sadeh Chavero. What does he say? It excludes a case where it falls into his friend's field. The Chavero in Latoch Sadeh Lo. That means the exemption only applies in his friend's field. So the Gemara says, but according to your logic, B'toch Sadeh Chavero Safu in, but Munachin lo. But according to your logic, if it goes into his friend's field and they were floating, they were landing on top of a stone, then we would say the laws of Shikha don't apply. But if it was placed on the ground in his friend's field, then laws of Shikha would apply. But it's not in your field. It means anywhere in the area of your friend's field. Even if it's on the ground. The only reason why it says he would float is because that's the only way we could get there. So the Gemara says, so we're still trying to answer this question. If it floats up and lands on your stones or on a other platform, and then you forget it, to the laws of Shekha apply, Tashma, Omer Sheksik Bo here. Let's say he has a bundle from his field and he puts it aside to take it to the city. And he puts this Omer on top of another bundle, and then he forgets it. So the laws of Shikha apply to the bottom one, but the top one he put there intentionally, so it doesn't apply. Now, both of them, the laws of Shikha don't apply. And the bottom one because it's hidden, and the top one because it's on top of a platform. And they're only arguing about the bottom one. But everybody says the top one, the laws of Shikha don't apply. So doesn't that answer the question? The Gemara says no. That case is different. He took a hold of it and he said, "I'm leaving this aside for a specific purpose to take to the city. So therefore, it doesn't apply." So what's the case? Why do we have to say, if that's the case, why do we have to say put on his friend? On a different bundle, I feel even if you put it in the field, it should also be enough. The Gemara says you're right. But it says the case if we put on another pile because he wants to teach us the law as it relates to the bottom one. The Gemara says no, but the only reason why it doesn't apply is because it says it was floating. No, the reason why the laws of Shikha don't apply because it's like the case of where he picked it up and it's in his hand. Amar Abaye, Areni ben Alze b'shukei Tveria. So Abaye says, one day my mind was so clear, and I was standing here in Pupadisa, and I was able to answer all questions so sharply, like Ben Azai, who was so sharp, and he used to give the drashas in the markets of Tiberias. And Amrulay, and one of the rabbis there said to Abaye, let's say you have two dead bodies, and they're not exactly equally on each other. They're not exactly directly one on top of the other. They're measured out differently. They're not completely on top of the other. So each one is closer to a different city. So from which body do you measure? Min b'mino havetam. And do we say that since they're one body on top of another body, and so therefore we'll look at the lower body as though it's buried, even though it's covered by another dead body, by the same type of substance, and so therefore the laws of Eglah Rufa don't apply, and we measure from the top one. And the reason is because min b'mino lo avetzaf me el yomoded, and so therefore the first one is not considered floating; it's on the ground, and we measure from the top one. Odilma min b'mino avetzaf, or maybe do we say the first one is like floating, min b'mino lo avetaman, and the bottom one is not buried, and mitachto measured, and we measure from the bottom one. Odilma, or a third possibility. Min b'mino avetam, and the bottom one is like buried; it doesn't apply. Min b'mino avetzaf, the top one is floating. V'lo mitachto modeh, v'lo mi'elyo modeh. We don't measure from the top one or the bottom one. Says Abaye, Abaye Tanisua. Abaye says we're on the top of 45b. Abaye says we learned this from the Tosefta. Omer sheyichzik bo molichola here. Let's say you have a bundle that sheyichzik bo, that the Balabayas takes in order to bring it to the city. And you put it on another Omer, Ushachacho, and then he forgets them both in the field. The bottom one is the laws of Shechacha, so we don't say it's buried. The top one is not Shechacha. So Rabbi Shimon Yehuda Mishum Rabbi Shimon says neither one of the laws of Shechacha. And the bottom one because it's buried. And the top one because it's floating. So Savrua Daitana. So the Gemara says, let's assume that this author of this brisa, Rabbi Yehuda, must be holding like Rabbi Yehuda, who says, Bisada Prato Tamun, in the field to the exclusion of the buried. And what are they arguing about? That if one on similar to each other, it's considered buried. And the other one says it's not buried. And the one who says it's buried, so therefore saying that the bottom Omer has a law of burial, and so therefore the laws of Shecha don't apply. And the one who says not buried says that has the laws of Shecha. So here we're answering Abayi's question, and we're saying that Tamun in the similar species is a machokas tanoim, whether or not we view it as Tamun or not. The Gemara says no. Well, Abayi is saying Ikra Yehuda Svirlo, that Abayi is saying you can't say that my question is answered by this brisa, because maybe I hold like Rabbi Yehuda, who says that by Taman there's no shicha dekol yama min b'mino avi Taman. Everybody says that it's considered buried if it's the same substance. And here the brisa is within the dispute of Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan of this brisa, i.e. the Tanakama, they all like the Rabbanan who argue with Rabbi Yehuda, and they say that also by Tamun there is a law of shecha, and so therefore there should be a law of shecha here. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yehuda, who says that if the Omer is buried, there's no laws of shecha, and so therefore the bottom Omer which is buried has no laws of shecha, and so therefore Abaye's intent is to answer from the brisa that everybody says min b'mino is like tamam. So if that's the question, why does Abaye give the case? Why does he have to say that if one dead body is found on another dead body? It could even be the case if it's buried in earth. It should be the same question. So it's true. But to say in the strength of Rabbi Yehuda's position, who says that even if it is in two like substance, we're going to say it's buried. So therefore, Gemara says we're going to teach us now other circumstances where we don't apply the laws of Eglar Rufa. If he's found dead, but not if he's found strangled. We find him dead, but not if he's like still quivering, even though he's about to die. On the earth and not on a pile of stones. No fail, not hanging from a tree. In the field and not on the water. Rabbi Elazar says, in all of these cases, even if he's just like quivering still, if he was eventually going to die, we're going to say orphan. We break the neck of the calf. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Amar Lo Rabbi Elazar Yatem Modeh. So this is the position of Rabbi Elazar, who says that you always do the law of Eglah Rufa in all these cases. So the Gemara says, don't you admit Shemaya Chanuk Mutal Ba'ash, but if he was strangled and found in the trash, meaning to say he's not floating, he's not hidden, he's not suspended, chain orphan. Now you don't do Eglah Rufa on him. Alma Chalal V'lo Chanuk. So we see from there Chalal and not strangled. Hachanami, so too we should say, Ba'adama V'lo Tamam B'gal. It has to be in the earth and not on a pile of stones. No fallen and not suspended. So how can you say that? So what Rabbi Elazar would say, halal yiseriksiv. No, Rabbi Elazar says to exclude strangulation, we have an extra word halal because it says an extra halal in the verse. Halal yiseriksiv. So it means only to exclude the case of strangulation. Says the Gemara. If you find it close to a border city or to a city of idolaters, we don't apply the law of Eglah Rufa. Ki matzeh, as it states, if you find prat l'matzoi, to exclude a case that where it's common. And in those cases, it's common to find the murderer. Oh, here shame based in why the beina ziknei a year because we need the elders of the city, but we don't have them under those circumstances. Ein modin ela year, we only measure it in a city that has a court. Shita, isn't that obvious? Given the Tana since it says that you only do it in a city that's close to a court, obviously that city has to have court. The Gemara says it's teaching us like the following brayso. How do we know if we find it close to a city that has no court? And that we leave it aside and we measure towards the city that's closest to the court. The others are the city, mikol makom, regardless. And so therefore it's teaching us that law. So now we're up to the next Mishnah. Let's say it's exactly equidistant between two cities. Then both of them bring the eglar rufa. That's the position of Rabbi Eliezer. And if you find it closest to Jerusalem, then Yerushalayim may via eglar rufa. Jerusalem does not bring an eglar rufa. Let's you find this head in one place and the body in a different place. You bring the head to the body and measure from the body. Mekiva says that you bring the body to the head. From where do you measure to see which city is closer? Rabbi Eliezer says mitiburo, from the navel. Rabbi Kiva says mechotmo, from the nostrils. Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov says mimakom shenasa halal, the place where he died, i.e. mitzavro, from his neck. My time with Rabbi Eliezer, what's the reason why Rabbi Eliezer says that you bring two calves, two eglar rufas, kasavar afshal shamsim? He says it's because you can possibly know, and so therefore it's a correct measurement, and so therefore they both have to bring a calf. And also Rabbi Eliezer says krova, vafil krovos, even the plural. But Jerusalem does not bring an eglar rufa. Why not? And Yerushalayim may be eglar rufa d'amar, because the verse says that you go into the earth to inherit it. Kasavar Yerushalayim lo nistakol shvatim. Jerusalem, the Tana says, was not given over to any of the tribes, and so therefore Jerusalem does not inherit it, and so therefore Jerusalem is exempted from the law of eglar rufa. So this is a machlokas in Megillah 26a, whether or not Yehuda was given over to the tribes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Yerushalayim was indeed given over. So Jerusalem doesn't, but our Mishnah says clearly Jerusalem does not bring an eglar rufa. Nimtza rosho v'rubo b'makom echad. Nimtza rosho v'rubo in two different places. So they argue: do you bring the head to the body or the body to the head? What are they arguing about? If you want to say, where do you start to measure? But the next clause says, where do you measure from? So this can't be talking about that. So I'm Rabbi Yitzchak, but we want to know, where does he get buried? Because an unattended dead body gets to be buried where he's found. To bury him. He acquires this place. So where does he get to be buried? So where the head and the body are in two different places. If you bring the head to the body and you bury him by the body, that's Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Kiva says that you bring the body to the head and you bury it by the body, by the head. So what's the nature of their argument? That one says the body falls where he was killed, and Reisha did not even fall, but the head travels and falls somewhere else. So the head falls where it is, and Gufu the body is what rolls. Where do they measure from? So one says from the navel, Rabbi Eliezer says from the navel, Rabbi Akiva says from the nostril. So one says the main source of life is the nose, and Marasavar Ikar Chiyus is betibure, the navel, probably the heart. You see it beating. Lema Kihani Tanai. Let us say that this dispute amongst the Tanaim is like the following dispute amongst the Tanaim that we learned in the Brisa. Meichan Avlan Notzer, where is the fetus born from? Meirosh. So where does the fetus start to come from? As it comes from the head. meaning to say you're created from the womb of the mother, from my head. And Gozi is my head. Omer, Gazin is Rech Vashlichi. Cut the hair off your head and send him away. Abba Shol says, Mitiburo, the baby's created from the navel. It says, Mishalech, Sharsho, Elach, Ve'elach. You could even say it's like Abba Shol holds like Rabbi Akiva. Abba Shol, you could even say holds like Rabbi Akiva, because when does Abba Shol say that the main part is a navel? Only in Yitzirah, because of creation. Because the baby's created from the middle. But with respect to life, who everybody says life comes from the nashul, because it says Kol Asher Nishmas Ruach Chayim Ba'apav. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says no, you measure from the place where the neck was cut. My time to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, because it says Latet Osachat Savarei Chalei Rishayim, and so we see from here that the neck is called a chalal, and that's why you measure it from there. Right? We have to stop here. Stop here recording.